an important matter that is to do with the COVID-19, the coronavirus pandemic. And in expressing thank you, I also want to say thanks to the many people in radio and TV land and who also are following this popular program via social media. I say thank you because we are very much indebted to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis for reposing their confidence in the Team Unity administration, and we cherish every opportunity to be held accountable. We are in a real war for our survival, with an invisible organism that has been deadly in its impact on many people around the world and has been destructive and destabilizing to the world economy. Since December, when it was declared that we had a global health emergency, to the present times when the World Health Organization, WHO, has deemed or elevated the emergency to a pandemic, we have had a veritable war for survival. Survival of the fittest, as it were. And all of us have to be enjoined in St. Kitts and Nevis, putting our very best foot forward to ensure we conquer and defeat the COVID-19. I want to refer to some important pointers that have come from the Director General of the World Health Organization. He said, we must fight, unite, and ignite. Fight to stop the virus with every resource at our disposal. Unite to confront the pandemic together. We are one humanity with one common enemy. No country can fight alone. We can only fight together and ignite the industrial might and innovation of the G20 to produce and distribute the tools needed to save lives. I want to underscore that all that the Team Unity administration has been doing since we have faced with this pandemic is really fight to save the lives of our people in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I want to commend the group or the team of local leadership that has given professional advice to the government and have helped to develop a plan which we are now putting into successful implementation. The plan had always been that it was in our best interest to keep the COVID-19 far away from St. Kitts and Nevis for as long as possible. And once it had come, as it certainly would come, that we will do all in our power to contain the spread to a variety of measures, all of which have been in play. We have asked our people to take the professional guidance seriously, to practice hand hygiene, to practice social and physical distancing, to elevate their own or improve and enhance and strengthen their own immune system by paying attention to what they eat, ensuring they eat adequate supplies of fruits and vegetables, they have adequate rest, and they do all in their power, as it were, to fight the battle against COVID-19. We had the privilege today in Cabinet, yes, Cabinet did meet today, for a very extended period of time. And we had presentations from some of our finest leaders in health, in security, in disaster management, as to where we were as a nation and a people in this fight against the COVID-19. I want to commend the outstanding leadership of Dr. Hazel Laws, who has been a real gem sent to us by God to provide leadership and support to the health fraternity and the health ministry in particular at this moment of challenge and tumult. I want equally to thank Dr. Cameron Wilkinson, our medical chief of staff, who has been doing an excellent job to assist and to ensure that our health system is at its best state of readiness so that we can overcome the challenge. We have our Health Emergency Operations Center already in place and meeting every day to update our response to this pandemic. Equally, we had, and I want to commend Mr. Samuel Abdias, or Abdias Samuel, for the leadership role he has been playing at our National Emergency Operations Center, and for all those who have been working and supporting him in this most challenging and stressful job at this moment in time. And we heard equally from our Commissioner of Police, Mr. Hilroy Brandy, and Assistant Commissioner of Police Brown and Adams on the way forward. Let me, on behalf of the Cabinet, say how grateful we are to all of these leaders and all the other personalities who have given of their time and have given of their experience and talent to help us do what we must to overcome this particular challenge at this time. I am reminded of the words of Professor Rex Nettleford, that all we have is us. All the people of St. Kitts and Nevis have at this time is ourselves, to do the best we can, to be resourceful, purposeful, determined that we shall overcome. At this time when everywhere is faced with this singular challenge of survival, we cannot look yonder for much support. The most powerful countries of the world had literally closed their borders to the exports of equipment and health gear that are so critical in the fight against COVID-19. Indeed, in many respects, the world that we knew has changed, and almost every state is fighting for themselves because it is survival time. In the context of that, the message that all we have is us should take on greater resonance. All we have is us to lead this ship of state safely to anchor. And I am determined, and I have accepted the challenge, that for such a time like this, I have been given the unique opportunity to lead St. Kitts and Nevis safely to a better and more healthy place when we would have defeated the COVID-19, and we will. We will because we will, all of us in the Cabinet are united and are giving all that we can to ensure that as quickly as possible we are able to turn the tide, flatten the curve, and turn the tide. In this regard, allow me to commend the leadership of Senator Wendy Phipps, our Minister with Responsibility of Health. Let me commend too the Honorable Jean Hamilton, who holds dual or multi-ministerial portfolios relating to health, agriculture, etc. And allow me to commend also present with us on this panel the Honorable Lindsay Grant, the representative for St. Christopher IV and Minister of Tourism, for his own support, advice at this moment of great challenge. Indeed, the Ministry of Tourism is one which has directly suffered as a result of the COVID-19. The Honorable Ian Patches Liburd, of course, is no stranger, and he has been doing yeoman service to date. And as an active and productive member of the cabinet, he has lent his support to every initiative that could help ensure that St. Kitts and Nevis conquers the COVID-19 and we can return to normalcy as the quickest interval. I want to commend all the other members of the cabinet, including the Honorable Attorney General Vincent Byron, who serves as the Minister overseeing our Mitigation Council. I want to record my deepest appreciation to the Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Sean Richards. I want to commend the work of our Senior Minister, the Honorable Vance Amory, and of course our Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley. I name all and commend all because it has been a genuinely team effort of a leadership working together to overcome. I want quickly to say that as a cabinet, we appreciate the inconvenience and the difficulties that people everywhere are experiencing. It has been an all of a society pain and all of a society effort to overcome. And so I thank our partners in business, in the church community, in the NGO, and in all areas of the society for partnering with the government and working together. I make the appeal that there is a constructive role for every citizen and every resident to play in our efforts to defeat COVID-19 and then begin the challenging task of rebuilding and taking St. Kitts further afield in our agenda to bring prosperity to all in St. Kitts and Nevis. And as some reflect upon sacrifice, I want to put forward the view that in the context of what is at stake and lives are at stake, what we are doing and what we deem to be sacrifices, in a manner of speaking, really is no sacrifice at all. Meaning that it is a small sacrifice to stay at home and to have an opportunity to attend to things which perhaps for months and days before now you were not able to attend to. And you're doing that as part of your shared, as it were, effort to ensure that our health sector is not destabilized and that our country can move on. I marvel at the sacrifice that our health workers are making every day, going beyond the call of duty, losing sleep, neglecting their families in some respect, to give care and attention to those who need them most at that particular moment in time. The same that can be said to our health professionals can be said to our police, our immigration officers, our customs officers, our defense force. All of them have been impressive in their display of patriotism and love. And so I want, at this point really, to record the Cabinet's and the country's deepest appreciation. We face the challenge of getting ahead of the COVID-19 as quickly as possible and then to engage with the rebuilding. And a little later on, I would want to come back to say what is happening in terms of the commitment we made when we outlined the most comprehensive stimulus package to be announced by any government in the region. A $120+ million package of support to protect the health system and therefore to protect you and their family members and to assist us once the curve had been flattened to begin the task of rebuilding with some degree of immediacy. I would want to return to the build out of our stimulus package in a little while when we shall have an opportunity to do so. But I want you to take courage. I want to encourage you that we shall weather this storm and we shall usher in a new chapter of hope, of industry, of prosperity. And my government will continue to give the best support we can to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis at this challenging moment. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, Minister Liburd, for the opportunity to give some opening reflections to assure the public that the Cabinet is seized every day on this matter, that we are doing the very best that we can do, having regard to all the resources available to us as a small state, that we have become a model of a country that has successfully, for the time being, been able to wage a war of resistance against the COVID-19. I want to say that we were able to keep COVID-19 at bay, away from our shores for the longest period of time. And we have been able at this time to minimize, because we had a plan which we have been implemented to minimize, as it were, the intensity of the COVID-19 on the lives of people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And that is why at this particular moment, the health sector remains strong and ready to take on and to play the role it must in this war against COVID-19. So thank you very much again.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. As you so ably intimated, we are fighting to save lives of our people,
yes,
save jobs, and ensure that we continue or we return rather to our healthy living standards here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And as you rightly said, all we have is ourselves. Quite optimistic you were, and we all are as a cabinet, that we will return to, or rather we would flatten the curve, to use the words. And in preparation of flattening that curve and on return to normalcy in the due course, an important pillar within the economy of St. Kitts and Nevis is found in the Ministry of Tourism, International Trade and Commerce, which is headed at this time by my colleague Lindsay, or the Honorable Lindsay Patrick Grant, who is the minister in charge of that ministry, which accounts for or makes a substantial contribution to our gross domestic product, GDP. I'm sure you'll be aware without insulting your knowledge that that sector within most economies, and ours is no exception, the impact has been hard, to use colloquial parlance. So I now invite my colleague minister, the Honorable Lindsay Patrick Rand, to give his perspective on the current disposition of his ministry in the context of COVID-19 and our long-term turnaround of our economy and ensuring that the pillar stands firm as it has always during the life of Team Unity thus far. Lindsay.
Thank you, Chairman, for this evening's proceedings, the Honorable Ian Patches Liburd. I want to say good evening to those listening via radio and also via the internet, and to welcome all to the program, Leadership Matters. And this program is important, and more specifically important at this time as we face the dreaded COVID-19 virus. And I'm happy to be here this evening to lend my support to my colleagues, including the Honorable Prime Minister, in what we consider this war against the virus, COVID, a war which we must win. We cannot thank those on the front lines enough. The doctors, the nurses, the police, all those involved in the utilities of this country who have done a tremendous job, who have gone over and above the call of duty to make sure that not only are we healthy during this period, but that we are also safe. Since March the 25th, 2020, when we recorded our first COVID-19 case when it was detected, we can certainly say that life in St. Kitts and Nevis has not been the same. And what we are experiencing today appears to be what will be our new norm. The new norm of social distancing, the new norm of ensuring that we use the hand sanitizers, the new norm of the masks that we wear today. Our curfews and our lockdown are all part and parcel of an attempt to fight and to wage the war against this virus that we cannot see. The ministries to which I have the honor and the privilege to lead at the moment, I suspect are the ones that are hardest hit. And I speak about the tourism industry, and I speak about the manufacturing industry. And if I were to look at the last recorded indicators coming from the World Travel and Tourism Council, the WTTC, it has indicated that tourism accounts for some 26% of our GDP. while manufacturing accounts for somewhere in the region of 9% of our GDP. And so between the tourism industry and the manufacturing industry, we are speaking about somewhere in the region of 35% of the GDP. In fact, the WTTC, the World Travel and Tourism Council, has also indicated that 1 in 4 jobs in St. Kitts and Nevis is either directly or indirectly a result of tourism. And so therefore, the effects of the COVID-19 is significantly impacting the tourism industry. And we have since February, we held one of our first meetings with the stakeholders in the industry to alert them as to what we considered to be happening in the industry and what would be the fallout. We held a meeting at the Marriott with hoteliers, restaurateurs, taxi and tour operators, the hay braiders, the primate vendors, the full gamut of the persons who would be affected in this industry as a consequence of the virus. And we indicated to them then what was the position of the government going forward. As you would recognize, we are now in a different position, different from when we would have met with the stakeholders in February of 2020. And so in fact, as of today, we now have 14 cases. And so we have to be more stringent in our approach to this virus. But one thing is certain, and that is we have to defeat the virus. And in order to defeat the virus, the technicians, those on the front line, the chief medical officer and her team, have indicated certain steps and I would call prerequisites that must be adhered to in order for us to mitigate against this virus. And we are hoping that the general population in St. Kitts and Nevis would adhere to the position put forward by the medical team so that we come out of this situation that we're in as quickly as possible. However, while we focus on the present, we still have to be cognizant of the future as we prepare to come out of this pandemic. And it is for that reason that the Ministry of Tourism in particular, we are engaged to ensure that when this pandemic ends, we are in a position to be stronger in the marketplace in terms of tourism. And so while we focus on ensuring that we fight off the virus and get an end to it as quickly as possible, at the same time, we prepare for what is to come. And so we have engaged stakeholders from time to time to do certain necessaries in the interim while the medical team attacks this virus. And so we have put marketing initiatives in place to ensure that in the downtime, we have inspirational videos along with posts on social media channels, have it designated for this month and next month to ensure that going forward, there is still a presence in the marketplace. We are of the view that our destination, St. Kitts and Nevis, will attract, so to speak, the stayover visitors first. And so we are engaging in that area to ensure that we focus is placed on our database that we have at the moment, which is 70,000 plus in terms of stayover visitors, to ensure that the current database is engaged, so that we believe when we get out of this, hopefully very shortly, St. Kitts and Nevis will be in a better position. Cruise, we believe, will take a little longer time to at least be up and running, but we still have to ensure that this area is looked at. When one looks at the Cruise Line International Association report just recently, it indicated that the no-sail order that was extended on April the 9th for 100 days. And so if one has to look at the cruise industry in particular, 100 days on top of April 9th, we're looking at somewhere in the region of July, even for starters. But one would appreciate that this virus we're in a fluid situation. And so a decision made today may not necessarily be what pertains tomorrow based upon the prevailing circumstances. I want to end, however, just to say that for St. Kitts and Nevis, that we are here with you. We are here with you for the long haul. And we will get through this together. And not only we will get through this together, we will come out of this stronger and a better Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Grant. It's now some 40 minutes before 9 o'clock, and time to hear from you, our listeners. We will include your calls as of this time. The number to call is 466-2666. That's 466-266. And we invite your calls at this time. In the interim, I perhaps will provide an opportunity for the Honorable Prime Minister as we await the calls. Perhaps you can maybe address the virus which has turned economics upside down in a matter of weeks and throughout the world. And perhaps as we await the first call, you may want to give us an insight into the fiscal situation even here in St. Kitts and Nevis as we speak. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much for that. Clearly, as we look at the international scene, we recognize that what is emerging is a clear tension between health and the economy. And it is a tension which is an important one, but it's a tension that has to be resolved in a way that doesn't reflect a zero-sum game. I say that to say that a healthy economy needs people at work. it needs people producing. And so we have come to accept in the region that the health of the nation is the wealth of the nation. Both of them have to go hand in hand. A healthy economy has the resources to keep its people healthy, to respond to the health challenges, to put the equipment in the hospital, to pay doctors, etc., etc. And it is the healthy people, by and large, who will drive the economy forward. We are seeing that tension played out in the US of A, where President Trump is saying it is urgent that we open up the US economy again for it to function, because otherwise would mean that we will end up in a recession. We are fortunate in St. Kitts and Nevis because of all the countries in the region. St. Kitts and Nevis stands in the best fiscal space to have been able to respond to this pandemic in a way no other country has yet been able to. By way of example, we have responded to those who have been displaced and who have lost their income as a consequence of the impact of COVID-19 by providing a $1,000 a month response. In addition to that, we have available the PAP program, where if the household qualifies now as a result of a breadwinner no longer being able to earn, say from the tourism sector, that person can also call upon that particular fund. In contrast to our $1,000 a month, Barbados is offering $600. Trinidad and Tobago is offering the equivalent of 603 EC dollars, and St. Vincent and the Grenadine is offering about $300 per month. We have a caller.
Okay, we go to the lines. Caller, you are live on Leadership Matters. Are you there, caller?
Good night to the Honorable Prime Minister. Good night. Good night.
Caller, you are live on Leadership Matters.
Yeah, good night to the Honorable and Patches Liburd. Good night.
Good night, sir.
And good night to the Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Lindsay Grant.
Good night.
Good night, Mr. Politics.
First, I want to commend the government and the leadership of the team unity government in this crisis we're into. And I want to commend the CMO and she team working very hard with Mr. Samuel, trying to get things done for the ordinary man and woman in the Federation. And I believe that you all is doing the right thing. You're on the track. Because when I listen to other countries shutting down, and we live in a small federation, I live in a small country, and we have just a limited amount of people. And if you all just open up the country like this, and people go and get affected, there is nothing to wipe off the map. So, Mr. Prime Minister, I want to commend you with what you're doing with the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, when I listen to the opposition talking about the package from Social Security, talking about how people hungry, people starving, then getting the package up to now, things got to put in place. You all just can't get money just like that. You all got to put things in place. And this kind of thing that be in this country, taking the opposition who was there for 20 years and come back and want to tell people that you all ain't doing the right thing. When you know that he was there and could not do it for even 5 years. You just unless and 5 years to do it. To do what you got to do for the ordinary man and woman in this country, and you still continue to do what you got to do with the government of team unity. And next thing again, Mr. Prime Minister, I just want to commend the Senator, Akila Byron Lisbeth, working hard. Every day I see come in the community, giving out hot lunch to the needy, those who can't come outside, and those who can't help themselves, and the elderly. I just want to commend them, and they're doing a good job. And when they come, they have them mask, because every day I see them go by my neighbors, deliver it to my neighbor and others, and I just want to commend them doing a good job. Mr. Prime Minister, to continue to do the good works. And Mr. Lindsay, Mr. Patrick Liburd, you all is doing a wonderful job. God bless.
Thank you very much, Politics. We want to improve our cause to be guided by the rules of brevity. Is there another call on the line?
Yes.
Caller, are you there? We have another call on the line. Caller, are you there, caller?
Yes, hello.
Yes, hello. Yes, you're.
Hello. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Yes, good night. Good night to the Prime Minister and to the whole of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Good night.
Yes, I actually have a question. I know amidst all this pandemic, but I'm wondering when, sorry if you're receiving feedback.
We're not hearing this.
Yes, hello?
This caller.
Sorry.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yes, so there are quite a few foreigners in St. Kitts, and I'm curious to know when the airport will actually be open officially for some of us to return home without us losing our tickets. It's been a matter on my heart, and I try to to follow news on it, but I haven't really had any vital news. So that's what I'd like to find out.
Okay, I think I got your question, caller. We will respond to you.
All right, thank you.
You're asking
yes, about
airport will
when,
open.
Yes.
We'll get back to you with the response. Just after this call. Call. Could we get some volume on the... Caller, are you there?
Yeah, good night, the Honorable Minister of Infrastructure. How are you doing?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
We give thanks for life, and good night to the Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, and good night to the Minister of Tourism, Mr. Lindsay Grant. How your night is good? Bye.
Good night.
Good night, my brother.
We give thanks. Basically, I would like to just take back on something I heard you state in a brief discussion there about 2 days ago, Mr. Prime Minister, and it was to consider about the vaccine. I would like to know, in this vaccine situation that is outlining to fight, as I said, the COVID virus, and considering how this COVID virus is indicating, we're trying to wonder, this vaccine really a part of fighting the COVID, is just a part of making sure that the COVID don't be raised up to the situation it is at this point in time. And another thing I'd like to put forward here to you all too. I heard the chairman of the COVID task force committee stated that the airport is open up for American students to travel outside of our country to back to America. I would like to know what the initial stage was that confirmed on, because I know we are on lockdown. So if we are on lockdown, what is it that we're giving permission to these American students to travel back out of our island? That's my question, please. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Caller, we'll take one, get some responses. Caller, you're live. Caller, you're on Leadership Matters. You're live.
Hi, good evening to your panel, the Prime Minister, Minister of Tourism, Mr. Grant, and Minister of Work, Patrick Liburd. My name is Dr. Elvis Linroy Mills, taxi driver. I must first congratulate the Cabinet and the Prime Minister in respect of the quick response, in respect of the package, especially to the workers and the self-employed. I think it was quick and reasonable from my discretion, even though a lot of people complaining. I think it's reasonable. I pay monthly $400 down there, and I'm happy with what is given. I mean, everybody would like to get more, but I'm satisfied. If the former Prime Minister could come with 50% on that, when I'll be happy. If the guy says it's little, I'll be happy to get more. However, I congratulate the Prime Minister to move so quickly to help all of us. Because, trust me, we got to depend on that little change. Nothing happening for some time now. And I just want people to understand, I've been saying all the time, that I am not about politics. I'm about what I think is good and what I think is wrong. So when I come on to speak my conscience. I don't come on to be with no labor and upon no unity. When things is good, I speak good. When things going upside down, I will be upside down. So, Prime Minister, it's a lot of work. I wish you well and your team. But I heard next week, the 20th, Monday, they will be start paying. So I can't wait to get it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll have one call, or perhaps one more call, and we go to the responses. Caller, you're live on.
Good evening, Patrick. How are you?
Yes, sir, you're live.
Man.
Wonderful. This is Kennedy here. I must say that I invest heavily in tourism. But one of the things that we, as citizens of this country, need to take into consideration, it is our country first, and then I. This shutdown, I think it's working. Patrick, I see you have on touring. I don't see the Prime Minister have on any. And sometimes it amazes me to see the wisdom that has been outreach, such as when he said that he's going to leave the airport open so all of his citizens who go out could have a chance to come back home, because everybody looks after their own first. I was like amazed and wondering, boy, I mean, is this man going to be crazy? But now looking at how people are falling down in the U.S. and are not getting care and attention, what I see coming behind that is pure wisdom. You have left our airport open, so our people who will sit outside there or who can capture the virus outside there, we could have allowed them to come back home and we take care of them. Many of them, if they was out in the U.S., I think that by now they would have passed and he would have lost some of our citizens. When he said to me that he had confidence in his medical team, I don't think he knew what he was saying, but then I would need to apologize to him and say, thanks for a great job that has been done, and I wish you all success and great joy. And I know that as long as we continue hereby the guideline that has been given to us, and as long as we respect the authorities, we will move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller. You actually touched on one of the questions and technically answered it. But since the airport falls under my purview, I want to respond, and in so doing, outline to the public that, and the Prime Minister in fact alluded to the COVID-19 task force, which includes the Chief Medical Officer and the Medical Chief of Staff and other medical doctors. And we have taken the advice of them in terms of the science, and they are guided by the science, and they guide us, and we make those decisions. And the decision was to ensure that we put measures in place to, first of all, slow down and eventually stop the invasion of COVID. And that meant that the country took a decision, or the cabinet took a decision upon the advice of the medical and public health professionals, that we should, so to speak, ban the international traffic, incoming passengers, international are coming from outside of St. Kitts, so too by air and by sea. In reference to the caller, in relation to the outbound passengers going to the US, we sought the advice as well of the task force, and it was their opinion that there is no challenge or danger to us if we allow people to leave the country. A matter of fact, that's probably one of the best things to do. So that's a decision that was made in relation to the airport. In terms of the opening of the airport, obviously, that will be determined as well down the line. The shutdowns that we have implemented are there's an expected outcome as soon as possible, we hope, that we will be COVID-free. But apart from being COVID-free, obviously we have to be cautious, we have to be wary of who is coming into the country. So that is a decision that will be looked at in the near future, hopefully. But in terms of opening the airport at this time, the science that has been brought to us does not suggest that we should do so at this moment. In relation to the COVID vaccine, I don't know if Prime Minister will want to address that, and the self-employed.
Thanks. The answer is that there is no vaccine at this time. Several efforts are being made to ensure that within the foreseeable future something would be available, but as of today there is none. So that is with respect to the matter of the vaccine. And that is why other initiatives, other interventions are recommended, such as the social distancing, such as the strengthening of one's immune system, and other such activities, other such interventions that have come from the Ministry of Health. And that is why, because there is no vaccine, we have to faithfully comply, wash our hands as often as possible, avoid touching our faces, build up our immune system, have adequate rest, and as far as is applicable, you should stay at home unless you have a compelling reason to go outside. I want to thank Mr. Politics, the first caller, and Mr. Politics is wise and knowledgeable. To hear the opposition come to criticize is really to show that they are puny men and they're really not interested in assisting in a constructive way in nation building. No government anywhere has faced a crisis like the one we now face. And yet the smallest country so far in the world, in the hemisphere, has been best prepared to deal with it. Best prepared because we have been a government that took our responsibilities seriously. Best prepared because we have managed the resources of the country properly and for the benefit of the people. And that is why our stimulus package to date represents the largest response by any government at this particular moment in time, having regard to our population and potential beneficiary groups. For an opposition leader who, when we had the matter of a hurricane, could not even provide a tarpaulin to those who are affected, to come now to talk about inadequacy of response in the context of a pandemic really indicates that they believe people are forgetful. But this is not a time really for them to become political over over a matter caused by external agents to this country and which are impacting people in a significant way. It's not just $1,000 per month is the response. It is also that we have waived payment of water for 3 months. That is a significant saving. It is also that we have said to the population, until September, do not worry yourself about property tax. It is that we have said that Skelec and Nevlec would basically put a moratorium or defer the payment of electricity for April, for May, for June. When you add up all of those savings, the package becomes very significant. I ran into one member of the public who said to me, I am indeed so grateful. You are doing such a fantastic job. I have the mortgage that was about $1,500, he told me, as a result of the intervention of the government, and in particular myself, as a member of the Monetary Council, and the arrangements which were made with the Bankers Association and the other allied financial institution. He does not have to pay a loan, $1,500 a month for the next 6 months. You understand what it is? The magnitude of the package, which touches the lives of so many people, is many times greater than the $1,000, because we save, in the case of that gentleman, $1,500 a month in his mortgage. For 6 months, he doesn't have to worry about that. He saved on the property tax. He saved on the waiver of the water payments. And we could go on and on to add other direct benefits which flow from the package taken as a whole. If he is a farmer, he will also benefit from the stimulus package that will provide hundreds of dollars to every farmer. And perhaps that program will start as early as next week or week thereafter. So the package is comprehensive, and there's not just one response. It's over 25 areas that we have identified to bring relief. If that particular individual also has a son or daughter abroad who is in need of financial support, my government has determined that it will evaluate the case. The case must be submitted to the Chief Personnel Officer, Ms. Sheridan Warner, I think she is, and herself and the PS of Education will meet with a committee and do the evaluation, and that student will receive grant support. That is another benefit. In addition to that, my government has determined that if that student needs much more substantial support, we will, through the Development Bank, allow them to access financial support of a magnitude that will help them to tide themselves over, and they will do so with a moratorium and principal and interest. Listen throughout the Caribbean, listen throughout the world. No other government has responded in the manner this small country of St. Kitts and Nevis has responded, in providing direct relief to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, on a matter not caused by us, but because we manage the finances of the country in an excellent way. Today, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis can benefit like they did not in the past. Recall that when there was a moment of challenge in 2010, 2011, in contrast to what we are doing now, the government then increased the water bill by 600%. This time in a moment of challenge, when the government itself is losing revenue because hotels are closed, businesses are not doing as well as a result of the impact upon them by COVID-19. when last time there was a challenge caused by the finance minister mismanaging the country, water bill went up 600%, electricity bills went up 85%, increment were being denied the civil servants. Contrast that to now. People are at home and the government is paying them. People are at home and the STEP program, and the government is paying them to be at home. You couldn't ask for better. Indeed, last week, what did we do? We paid the money for the STEP workers in advance, so they had their money already in their account for when we relaxed the curfew. The partial curfew started on Wednesday. You can't ask for better government than the one we have now. So that is where, with respect to that, the matter of the opening of the airport, you have explained that. Closing the borders to incoming traffic of people is critical to containing the virus. You would recall that most of the cases, if not all of them reported to date, have been linked to persons with a travel history, going abroad, getting themselves infected, coming back, and we are attempting to control the spread of it by, as it were, restricting movement into the country of persons. As part of our good relationship with the United States of America, we have facilitated the exit of her citizens to their country and facilitated that government in repatriating with the necessary controls take place. And that has come at no cost to us. And so this really is the right thing to do. I want to thank Dr. Elvis Mills for his call, for his commendation, for the work of the government, and equally to commend Kennedy. We know what we have, and what we have is competent leadership, fit for purpose, and determined to take St. Kitts and Nevis through these stormy waters. And we will emerge stronger, safer, and better with the leadership of the Team Unity administration. That is the promise, and that is commitment we make to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay, we go back to the lines. The numbers are the number that is 466 2666. We go back to the line. Caller, you are live on Leadership Matters.
Thank you so much, Minister Ian Patches McDonald Glassford Liburd, Honorable Minister, and Honorable Prime Minister, good night to you, sir.
Good night to you.
And Honorable Lindsay Grant, good night to you, sir.
Good night, sir.
Mr. Prime Minister, you're doing a great job in leading this country. And I tip my hat to you, because I look at you last week, Saturday, and I could tell you were tired, moving up and down, running up and down, and going up steps and everything. Take care of yourself, Mr. Prime Minister. This country here needs you. We need you around with your members of your government, your ministers, your cabinet members. We need you around. Mr. Prime Minister, I have a question, and I want you all to take a good look at it. There's some business out there, business places out there that wants to have their staff on the job at home. And they're looking at if there's a possibility that the Social Security can be waived, and they will pay their staff regular to be home during the work. In other words, just move the security for a period of time, like a couple months, that we think this thing is going to go on, or 1 or 2 months, and ease it a little bit for them,
And so, because they're making no money right now, but they still won't need their staff to try and see if they can get things organized for the future, which is near. And so if that can be done, I would like your ministers to take a look at it, cabinet to take a look at it, and also the man in charge of Social Security, Mr. Antonio Maynard, who have done a wonderful job. And so if you all can look at that, that'd be great. Mr. Minister, if you go up by the hospital right now, up there is like a ghost town. Nobody getting sick, sir. Nobody getting sick in terms of regular sickness. You know why? Because they're locked down and they're eating good food now. They're on the street eating the bad food on the street and things like that. They're home with their family, they're enjoying the family, and they're eating good food. And so you find that a lot of them ain't going up to the hospital now, up there like a ghost town, which is good. So you got to be very careful with the decision that you're making in terms of not everybody, a few people want this thing to be opened back up, that everybody could go on the street and do as they like. Mr. Prime Minister, I am asking you to be very, very careful with the decision that you're making in opening up this country. They gotta keep the social distance. Look at you displaying a mask right now, and you are the Prime Minister of this country. But Macy Patch is gone now.
It's for the public.
So, Mr. PM, just be careful. I congratulate you. The staff is doing good. The technical staff, the CMO and Dr. Wilkinson and the rest of the staff are doing a wonderful job. And I ask them to continue to do the job that they're doing and just be careful. I want them to start putting on their masks. Tell them put on their masks. When they're around each other, put on the mask and be very careful without it touching the podium, because golf balls come out of mask. Golf balls come out when you don't have on a mask, and it will go on the mics and it go on the podium. So they have to be very, very careful. Now, Mr. Prime Minister, I want to thank you so much, Honorable Lindsay Grant and Honorable Patrick Liburd. You all continue to give the support to the Prime Minister. Continue to give him the support he needs, all the support he needs from his colleagues. Don't study what they're saying. And I know they're taping me right now. Don't study what they're saying. Keep it going. Keep it straight. Keep it nice and pretty. As the King Rockefeller would say, nice and pretty. Take care. God bless.
Thank you very much. We go straight back to the lines. It's some 19 minutes after the 9 o'clock hour. We're going to ask our callers to be as brief as possible with your comments and questions so we can get in as many callers as possible. Caller, you are live on Leadership Matters.
Good evening to you, the Honorable Prime Minister.
Good evening.
Good evening to the Honorable Minister responsible for Ports Authority and Skelec.
Good evening.
Good evening to the Minister responsible for tourism.
Good evening, good evening.
Honorable Prime Minister, I normally listen to the daily briefings from the National Emergency Operations Center, and today was no difference. Something I heard have me kind of disturbed here, really disturbed. And I will only hope, Mr. Prime Minister, that the protocol was followed. Hear what I heard. I think it's Abdi Samuels, I think he's the chairman. He said that a boat left Guadeloupe to travel to St. Martin, but on its way, it entered the Federation territorial seas into Nevis. He said that they wanted fuel. Order was running out of fuel, so they came to our country to get that done. Here's the problem I have. Borders are closed. Most Caribbean countries have closed the border.
So why would a vessel want to leave Guadeloupe for St. Martin? That is the first question I ask myself. The second question I ask myself, I hope the protocol was followed, because hear what Mr. Samuel said, that the police was called and the police and the coast guard dealt with the matter and then sent the vessel on its way. Well, if I know it, because I believe I understand the environment, that if you're going to follow the protocol, then you must notify the customs, you must notify the immigration, but most importantly, you must notify Port Health. And those three agencies, then they must go out there in the hazmat clothing to question these people on board that vessel. Patches, you know that? So, yeah, better follow this, you know. You must question them. That's why I'm asking if the protocol was followed. I mean, we can't let these things slipping away from us. And as a citizen of this country, hearing these things, I don't think I could have let that one pass this evening. Have a good one. I hope I was short enough, Patches.
Yes, thanks for your understanding. Caller, we go back to the lines. In the event you've just joined us, we are bringing the 4th edition of the virtual forum series, Leadership Matters. I have with me the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, and the Honorable Minister with responsibility for tourism, the Honorable Lindsay Grant. Caller, you're live.
Yes, good evening to you, Mr. Liburd.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening to the Prime Minister, and good evening, Mr. Grant.
Good evening.
My name is Boris. Okay, I have a concern and a situation that I'm looking at. About 10 or so years ago, right, I listened to a press conference. And at that press conference, there was a question posed to the person hosting that press conference. The question was, there was a situation in our country at the time, and the question was asked the person, do you take the responsibility for the situation then or now? No, not them. They're not taking any responsibility for that. They didn't send anybody to do anything. And they also went on to say, a matter of fact, that don't just run off my back like water coming off a duck bank. About after that situation, we end up with almost 400 persons perish out of that situation. About 3 or so weeks ago, at a press conference, the same question was asked to the leader then. Do you take responsibility for the present situation? They say they're not taking any responsibility. We now know that that country now has the most coronavirus cases in the world and the most deaths. So my thing to you is, we have to say to you all and to the government, thank you for not saying to us that you're not going to take any lead. As a matter of fact, when we in a situation, in a crisis in a country, the people look to somebody, and most of the time they look to the government for that leadership or that person to take the lead. And you all would have told us before you all know it. We were done preparing the country and the government to help you all or to take the lead for you all. So I'm saying to you all, thank you for doing that, and thank you for preparing the country ahead of time for the situation now. It's a pity, and we're sorry that we have now 14 cases, but based on what the CMO has said, that they're not serious real matters, and hoping that they would not, they don't elevate, and this person would get better quick. But I am saying to you all, thank you again, not telling us you are going to take any responsibility or you're not going to take the lead. Good night, guys, and continue to stay safe and continue doing the good work that you all are doing.
Thank you very much as well. Perhaps we'll take the opportunity to respond to the questions before us and the comments. Don't know if you want to, Prime Minister, respond to take the other call. Okay, we'll take that call. I'll call you live.
Hi, good night.
Good night, my dear. Yes, we're hearing you.
My first question is regarding the shutdown in terms of the curfew and shopping days. So I was wondering whether we would be allowed shopping days this week. That's the first question. And then my second question is regarding the zoning policy, if there is a more effective way possibly that we can do it, considering a lot of the social distancing and other protocols in place to keep people safe during these shopping days are not followed very well or enforced. So I was just wondering about those two things.
Thank you very much. Yes, we'll take one more caller, then we go to our responses. Caller, you are live. It's 27 after the 9 o'clock hour.
Good night. Leadership matters. This is the boy. Bucky got it and Bucky always got it. Good night to our CM.
Good night.
And I just want to say you're looking healthy and strong during this everyday meeting back and forth, and let the gentleman say he see you going up the steps by Nima. And I want to continue to encourage you to take care of yourself. It is very important that we have the leader healthy and strength so he can continue doing the good work that he's doing. And I believe in you. The country believes in you. And what you're doing in terms of making sure that we are safe is something good. The curfew, the lockdown, this is something good. Right? And like a caller said, persons are not getting sick anymore. The hospital is empty because we are home. We are mindful of what we're doing. So what you as the leader are doing, it is very important, right? Honorable Lindsay, my representative of number 4, I'm happy to see you on the program tonight. And I want to say thank you for having KFC open because of that, many persons was able to get an KFC during the lockdown. Some get bucket of chicken, some get a number 2 and number 1. Question to you, Honorable Grant. Now we are approaching the hurricane season coming up upon us. Now you have 2 major projects under your wing. That is the Old Road Bay and the fishery. Will you be looking to complete those projects or continue those projects as the previous party have tried to implement that old fishery and it have failed? So now that you're leading it again, I'm wondering if you would try to complete it right before the hurricane season starts, because we don't want it to get damaged and then you have to start all back over again. You know, and those are 2 major projects that the country needs, that number 4 needs, right? And I know you have the Prime Minister who is going to make sure that things are done properly and in the right way. I will listen and continue doing a good job. Mr. PM, remember, keep healthy and be safe. Protect us. We are depending on you to protect us. Right now, our lives is in your hands, right? Our trust is in your hands. Right, I know Mr. Patches, Honorable Patches, I know you were doing a good job in terms of resurfacing the road and whatnot. I'm not sure if anything will be done, because mind you, we are coming up on hurricane season also, right? But I know with the curfew and the social distances, I'm not sure how those will be tackled. But guys, continue looking after us, and we will continue to support you. Bucky got it and Bucky out got it. Over.
Thank you very much. We will strive to respond to a few questions, and in the process I may wish to inform my good friend Valentine Linwald Thomas that Statutory Rules and Orders number 12 of 2020, section 15 on page 6 speaks to wearing of masks outdoors, and it says, notwithstanding the provisions of Small Charges Act cap 4.36, a person shall wear a mask, a face mask, covering their nose and mouth when in a public place once a period of emergency is declared. So I do have my mask, Val, but I do actually wear it when I get out in the public place. And for the comments by Terry, you did in fact say that you were not certain whether protocol was followed. But based on what I've heard, the vessel came into a port for refueling. And under the ILO and IMO conventions that we signed, I mean, supplies, water, fuel, they are all allowed, but my understanding is that the vessel was allowed to come in OLA, I think it was, if I stand to be corrected, and all the protocols were afforded the vessel was escorted out of our waters by Coast Guard. No doubt it has its clearance from whichever port. There's some vessels, we're not certain whether it was a cargo or what type of vessel it was, but vessels move. We did in fact have vessels here today. The tropical vessel was here, but the cargo vessels are moving in and out. As I said, I don't know what that vessel actually carried, but we can in fact get some more information for you in terms of the protocol that was followed, and I'm certain that we'll come back and provide more details. In reference to the shutdown and shopping days, beg your pardon, the option to zoning, Prime Minister, I'll pass that to you.
Okay. Thanks very much. I want to thank that caller for the question. The matter of shopping days is one that we have given consideration to, and we did indicate that we appreciate that not everyone could sustain a long period of shutdown. And so when some persons were saying, shut down the country for a month, for 14 days, for 15 days, we know that that wasn't realistic. There are some persons, regrettably, who just cannot afford to stock up for a prolonged period of time. And so our policy has always been sensitive to the poor, to the needy, to the aged, and the vulnerable groups. And we have determined, to the extent that we can shape a policy prescription that allows for easement, that allows for persons to be able to go to get essential items of food, refill their prescription, we will accommodate that. The short answer is that in moving forward, yes, we will always allow our people the opportunity, unless of course something goes extraordinarily awry. And that is why we are hoping that the people take note of the seriousness, take note of the caring of the government, and do not disappoint themselves first and foremost, and secondly, not to disappoint the country. We expect that when people are given an opportunity to go shopping, for example, they go with a list. They will first try to give the business to retail shops, outlets within their community, and only come into the city if it is absolutely necessary. Why are we saying that? Until we flatten the curve, until we get over, we defeat the COVID-19, we want to minimize crowding in the city, and indeed crowding in any public space. In that regard, we are saying to people, shop at the most convenient place within, and even while shopping, we expect you to observe the social distancing. We expect you, if you must sneeze, to observe the new rules of etiquette in relation to those things. So, short answer, yes, we will allow for shopping. Will zoning take place? Can that be tweaked? Yes, I believe that the police and the NEOC are looking at that matter. We rely on the professional advice. We ask the professionals the hard question. We take into consideration the public interest, the public needs, and we come to a decision. That decision will be communicated long before the curfew under the necessary SRO number 12 of 2020 is exhausted, we will advise the public what will be the new approach to shopping once we enter into a period of partial curfew. That is a period of less than 24 days. But again, everything is contingent, and you behaving. Do I wish as the Prime Minister to have to exercise emergency powers, regulations? No. I would hope that reasonable people would take note of what is happening around us, understanding the danger, and do the right thing. The truth is not everyone is prepared to do the right thing, and we therefore have to impose the right thing by way of regulations, and I will not be afraid, once the situation warrants it, to take draconian action where necessary to preserve the lives of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. There are times when we have to protect people from themselves, and that is what we are prepared to do as a government, to get people to a better behavior that in the end protects them, protect their family members, and protect all of us. That would be the approach, and that has been the approach that we have adopted in relation to the matter of shopping and zoning. And we would want people, when their particular zone, that period for their shopping is ended, please do not allow yourself to try a smartness to go in the line again when persons from another zone ought to be able to get their opportunity to shop. Those kinds of action will create more problems for us and will force us to take further action that we would otherwise wish that our people, through their best behavior, would help us and would help us to, as it were, lead to a relaxation of some of these regulations where necessary and we are thought prudent by the professionals. I want to thank Bucky Gottit for his encouragement regarding taking care of my health. It is good advice, and I want to thank the caller before who in fact mentioned that, Valti. I have to keep myself healthy and well by example, and also to carry the burden of leadership of the country as its most difficult time in history. No government now has faced such a challenge and difficulty, and it is my lot to be leading as Prime Minister at this particular moment in time. It is the encouragement that I have and I receive day by day that inspire me really to go way beyond the call of duty and to spend every moment that I can thinking through areas as to how I can better advance the condition of living for every Kittitian and every Nevisian and every person living here. When I have to walk up the steps of NEMA to attend the NAOC meeting, and I see the enthusiasm which Samuel Abdias brings to his job, when I see the dedication of our CMO, Dr. Laws, when I see the hard work and the patriotism being displayed by Dr. Wilkerson, I get, as it were, a new bout of inspiration to work even harder to protect St. Kitts and Nevis and make it the example of the best manning state. And I feel motivated to ensure that St. Kitts and Nevis becomes the first country in the Caribbean to have defeated the COVID-19. So yes, it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of pressure on me, I confess, but I see it as a small sacrifice that I must make as the leader to keep and to protect my people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And all I am asking in return is that people act wisely, act responsibly, take the advice so that the burden that I have to carry each day can be less. And and the safety and security of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis would never be compromised as a result of our people not rising to the occasion. I expect the best behavior from our people. I expect persons to observe the curfew. I expect persons, when they are not compelled to go out, not to go out and to stay at home and enjoy the comfort of their home. There are so many useful things that you can do. And I've heard people recount all the new things that they otherwise would not have been able to do at their homes, that they are now spending time at home doing. And some of them said, you know, the marvelous thing about this is that the government is paying me while I'm home. So why am I complaining about being home? They told me all the areas of their homes they have had the opportunity to clean, to sanitize. They told me about their efforts at their gardening. All these positive good things that they can do at home. Rather than complaining, our people must see opportunities coming out of the challenges and rise to higher heights in relation to seizing the opportunities that are there. The extent to which we will be able to open up and to give some easement depends largely on the behavior. And when we provide an opportunity for partial curfew, we would want that people practice the habit of wearing their masks, that they practice the hand hygiene in particular, that they practice social and physical distancing, and of course they take good care of their bodies, boost their immune system. If when we were to open up a bit, people are not wearing the masks, people are not practicing or observing social distancing, we are having an overcrowding, we will respond in a significantly severe way to that. So I want to warn the members of the public and to encourage them. Do the best you can. You know better, so please do better.
Social Security question.
What was that?
Alti asks whether the Social Security can be waived and companies will pay their staff at home.
Well, the Social Security matter really is one that we will have to put to the board of the Social Security. We will have to see how that will impact upon their inflows. We have to bear in mind that the institution is already making a significant commitment of $15 million to this fight against COVID. We have to bear in mind that this particular moment in time, Social Security will get less revenues because fewer people actively at work means less contribution income that he has to meet his ordinary expenses, pay its workers, etc., and all the other administrative and operational matters that it has to take care of are being met out of reduced income. But we welcome the idea from Valti, and we will basically put it for the board for consideration through the Minister of Social Security, Mr. Vance Emery.
And quickly before we go back to the lines, I apprise or advise Bucky that we have already addressed the issues of our ongoing capital projects to wit the Old Road Bay construction. That in itself, we must protect it prior to the hurricane season. We have already approached, we meaning Public Works, have already approached the via a letter of communication to the Commissioner of Police, and when in his judgment we can perhaps start that. We have approximately 100% of the core material in place and just about 35% of the armoring, and we're just about to put the base on the road and to actually pave the road. So we did in fact had the intention in consult with the Commissioner of Police to actually have this done, but after the full shutdown we had to hold that in abeyance for a while. But we'll have to, as I said, place the armor rocks to protect the work that has already been done. Likewise, at the fisheries breakwater in Old Road, the quarry at the moment is holding some 300 tons of the 10-ton rocks to be used to armor and protect the fisheries prior to the hurricane. That too will be considered as soon as whenever there's an ease or a partial curfew. The Island Main Road, there's some 47 kilometers of the planned works, of the 47 kilometers of the planned works, some 29 kilometers are done, but we are aware that we'll have to defer the rest of it. But we were just concerned about the roundabout there in Molyneux, which can be done in about 5 days, and the other 2 projects, the airport runway as well, completion of the airport taxiway, taxiway Alpha A. We had already approached the Commissioner of Police to more or less complete that before the season is done as well. And finally, the bus terminal there on the West Bus Terminal, all the material, all the equipment is here, the benches are here, the canopies here, and the sides are here. And when the Commissioner, in his wisdom, figured it's time, we can put that up in perhaps 7 days. We'll also address that particular project as well. We go back to the lines. Caller, you're live on Leadership Matters. Caller, are you there?
Maybe Minister Grant would want to add something.
You want to add anything, Grant?
To the Bucky?
Well, I see the chairman in the proceedings answer the question that Bucky posed to me, but just safe to say that we are grateful in the constituency that we have been able to get the major capital projects, $31 million for the Old Road Bay Rehabilitation Project, and some $6 million for the Old Road Fisheries Project. Some almost $40 million of capital project in Old Road alone. And obviously, as the Minister of Work said, we're going to ensure that those works are secured for the upcoming hurricane season, because it's a significant amount of capital that the government has outlaid in that area. It's been an area that has been begging for this project for over 2 decades. And these are 2 significant projects that will inure to the benefit of the people of constituency number 4. So we will do all in our power to ensure that they are protected during the hurricane season.
Okay, as we wind down tonight's programming of Leadership Matters, we go straight back to the lines at 12 minutes before 10 o'clock. Caller, you are live.
Hello, good night.
Yes, you're live, caller. Good night.
Good night. The Social Security form, there's a problem. When you go to the Social Security website, they ask you to print the form, fill out the form, you sign the form, then you have to scan the form and then email it. Majority of people don't have a scanner at home, so they cannot fill out the form to send to the Labor Department to file and get their benefits. So I think something needs to be done to that.
Okay, caller, we'll respond summarily. Caller, you take another call. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good night, Minister.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Yeah, Fisher, this is Mr. France here. I don't hear you talking nothing about the officials then. Well, you have to in place for the officials then. Minister personally feel like you are sure to have the officials them going to see and storing the fish when the country open up again, along with the farmers and doing what little they could do. That's the question. I mean, I don't think the minister for that is here, but somebody could say something on that for us, please. Good night.
Good night, caller. Is another call? Caller, you're live?
Yeah, good evening to the Prime Minister, Mr. Grant, and you, Patches Liburd.
Good evening.
My name is Austin Corker, Winfield Road, Old Road. Mr. PM, I work in the tourist industry along with my son, and we are grateful for the package that you are giving out. But if I can make a suggestion, I would like it to be appreciated. I do not wish to have the package, neither my son. Can you pass it on to my representative? And myself personally would add another $1,000 to it so he can give to other persons in the community who probably have not get any little package 2 days ago when he came around. So I wanted to go on record that I am saying to you, whatever I might have been collecting on my son, you can pass it on to Mr. Lindsay Grant, and I will give to him personally a check from my own business account to make it at least probably $3,000 so he can do some more distributing within our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Austin.
very much.
Well, let me thank Austin Coker for that contribution. That will certainly go a long way in supporting some persons who are needy in the community.
Okay, we go back to the lines. Caller, you are live on Leadership Matters.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
I have a concern specifically for nurses. For the last 2 shopping days that were available to the Federation, I observed that nurses in particular got a very poor end of the bargain, whereas by the time we got into the stores, there wasn't enough fresh fruits and vegetables. And in addition to that, we were not let into the grocery stores in a timely manner. So I'm asking the leaders if you will consider setting aside a separate day for specifically essential workers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Caller is the next call. You're live on Leadership Matters. Caller.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
To ask the Prime Minister a question. Mr. PM, there's a photo circling in social media pertaining to you saying you're giving herd immunity. So, I think it's about COVID-19. Is there any truth about that?
Could you speak up, caller?
There is a photo circulating said Prime Minister is giving the country herd immunity. Is there any truth about that?
Giving what?
Herd immunity, you said?
Yes.
Okay, we'll have a response to that caller. Thank you. Should we close? Should we take some more calls? Should There's a caller there.
Hello.
Yes, you're live, caller on Leadership Matters.
Yes, a pleasant good evening to everyone there.
Good evening, my dear.
Okay, I just want to endorse my Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, for leading the ship without fear and favor at this trying time. Mr. PM, I want you to take good care of yourself too, because as you said, a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. Make sure you take your vitamin and you take plenty of rest. Mr. Patches, you are doing a great job. Continue doing what you are doing. I want Mr. Grant and Mr. Patches to hold up your hand, my Prime Minister's hand. Keep on holding his hand, because he cannot do it by himself. He's a human being just like anybody else. And Mr. PM, I love you daily, from the bottom of my heart. And I want you to look within and see what you can do for the essential workers for the shopping day. That is my question to you, sir. See if you can put a place set aside for the essential workers to go to get the grocery. And Mr. PM, get home safe. And may God bless and keep you. And may he cause his face to shine upon you as usual. You have a good night, PM. Love you. Bye.
Thank you very much. We will perhaps take our final call for the night. Caller, you are live on Leadership Matters.
Hello?
Yes, caller, you are live.
Hello?
You're live, caller?
Yes, good night, Patches and my Prime Minister and Mr. Grant.
Good night.
I heard you all talking about a lot of things in the stimulus. And may hear nothing concerning down on the port, concerning these shops. When we dust off and ready to go again, is millions of dollars spent down there on a cruise ship. You all got to contact these Indians and get to know the problem. Some problems seems to be down there. And please, Mr. PM and Lindsay and you Patches who in charge of UDC, you all must get to these people and talk to them and get the concern. It's not just locals alone. We depend on these people to give us a prime cruise ship destination. And you all got to focus on them as well. I'm the ambassador for the Indians, let me know. Because I know what they're doing down there. Please, Mr. PM, I want you to have a little concern about them. If I have a concern about them, you all should have a little concern about them. Have a good night and keep doing the good work.
Thank you very much. So I think that will be our final call for the night because our time is surely running out on us, and I will try to ensure that the questions are responded to. In terms of the stimulus for shops at Port Zante, Prime Minister, I know that the owners at those shops at Port Zante did in fact communicate, and we intended to go and meet them, because I was invited myself. I don't know if you wanted to add to that, but time or circumstances did in fact turn it around. The other questions in terms of the special day for the nurses, I know there's an arrangement for essential workers for certain hours, but that lady's saying when they reach there, most of the produce are almost done. I don't know if you want to address that. I didn't quite get the question about the herd immunity, but anyone would want to address any questions that I would have raised.
Thank you very much. The question of our meeting with the business people and other stakeholders at Port Zante is one which we intend to do as soon as time allow, having regard to the constraints of curfews and all those other interventions which are operating at this time. However, even without that, from the stimulus package, as we said, it was comprehensive. Several of the interventions which we announced, or initiatives that we announced, would certainly benefit persons at Port Zante. You will recall, for example, we spoke about a 50% reduction in taxes for unincorporated businesses. We talk about a significant reduction also in corporation tax. So those entities that would feature under either a corporate entity structure or, as it were, a corporate structure would have some savings with respect to the taxes. And recall also that we have put a deferment with respect to some of the taxes. The corporation tax will reduce from 33% to 25% for businesses that will be paying at least 75% of their employees. And of course, for those unincorporated businesses, the taxes will reduce from 50% for the period from April to June. Additionally, we have appealed to landlords to provide support by way of some form of relief to workers. We are working with the supermarkets to improve that and to ensure that more time or better time and opportunities are being provided for the essential workers to be able to get a good deal, a good arrangement when they go to do shopping. It is a work in progress, and each day as we listen, we get new advice. We work along with the supermarkets and the pharmacies to see how we can improve upon what we are doing. The caller who called with respect to the nurses. Nurses, of course, are critical at this time and always will be critical to the delivery of our health services. And I want to thank them for their work so far. They fit within the category of essential workers. So as we work and we improve, they too shall benefit directly. We welcome their own ideas as to how we can make it more efficient. The caller who spoke to the matter of herd immunity, I gather that today at the NEOC briefing, the Chief Medical Officer did make reference to the concept of herd immunity. Herd immunity, as I understand it, is the resistance to the spread of a contagious disease within a population that results if a sufficiently high proportion of the individuals are immune to the disease, and this usually happens through vaccination. In this particular case, there is no vaccine that is available to treat with the virus at this particular moment in time, but it is a concept well established in science and in medical field that if you have a substantial portion of your population protected, then that protection of about 90+ % of the population will give some coverage to even those who, in the case of the vaccine, would not have had the vaccine. So that is really a fact of the scientific world. We are not yet at that place, but we would welcome the coming sooner rather than later of a vaccine for our own good and for the good of the global community. I think I would have addressed most of the questions. To thank again, as the Honorable Lindsay Grant did, Austin Coker for his show of philanthropy, and to hope that others who are in as good a spot or better than him would do so. The caller who raised the question of the support of the farmers and fishers, I want to thank him, because they too have not been left out. We have set aside $10 million, I want to repeat, $10 million in addition to the resources that had been budgeted in the 2020 budget to assist the farmers and fishers at this particular moment of difficulty. What do we propose, or what has happened so far? The farmers have already been benefiting because for the last couple of months they have been receiving free vertical to treat with their animals, and this will continue for a 6-month period in the first instance. The Department of Agriculture has advised that they have identified 5 food crops for support. Staples such as sweet potato, green fig, and breadfruit. Those, of course, can be produced within 3 to a 5-month period. And of course, we have cassava and yam, and those would normally take between 6 to 9 months. In order to enhance our food security at this time, we have targeted staple crops, including tubers, as areas in which we would want to engage. The sweet potato, the green fig, the breadfruit. Any farmer interested in those, you will get support under the program. We have also targeted vegetables, pumpkins, squash, carrots, lettuce, broccoli, eggplant as some of the things we would want people to engage to advance our food security. Fruits, guava, gooseberry, tamarind, mangoes, and legumes, black-eyed peas and pigeon peas. The black-eyed peas, of course, have a shorter period to harvest than does the pigeon peas. And so we are interested in getting people to do more food, produce more food, whether it is livestock or it is fish or it is crop produce. We are interested in that. And part of the $10 million is being provisioned to assist farmers and fishers in that regard. For the month of April, I'm advised that we are forecasting 276,000 pounds of crop produce locally. 276,000 pounds. This means we will have in the market over 135,000 pounds of onions. We will have pumpkins. We will have sweet potatoes, and sweet potatoes are already being harvested, and we have some good quality, nice tasting sweet potatoes. And carrots also. I would want to encourage our people, our supermarkets, also our restaurants, to give support to locally produced items at this time. We also have identified 135 acres of land to support the expansion of agriculture in these particular areas that I've identified: vegetables, fruits, legumes, staple crops, etc. Those are areas that we are committed to, and of course livestock. And the livestock would take large and small ruminants, cattle, goats, sheep, rabbits, poultry, egg production. All of those are going to be supported. We will support the plant materials, and the Agriculture Department has been providing free seedlings and free seeds to assist farmers with their planting. The land preparation, that is the harrowing and so on, that is being done free of cost for the benefit of the farmers. And in some cases, we will provide some labor support. $2.7 million are expected to be spent on buying seeds and ground covers, drip lines, plastic mulch, land prep, etc. And of course, as part of our new engagement with agriculture, we will resuscitate, bring back into being the Bayford's farm as a critical part of the support to food security in the country. Relative to animal protein, the pigs, the cattle, the sheep, the egg production, rapid producers, we have targeted about $5.7 million to be spent there. The fishers, of course, will benefit from this. I want to commend all those people who are involved in serious agricultural production. George Jeffrey, for example, in Tabernacle. We have Mr. Brown in Mansion. We have Palmer in Mansion, serious in the production of pork. And of course, throughout the country, in St. Peter's, in Old Road, all over, we have some outstanding farmers, and I want to commend them. We have young people like Keith Roy, Matthew in Molyneux, we have Brown in Connery, we have Peets in St. Peter's, and we could go on and on. In Old Road, we have outstanding farmers, women involved in farming, Ms. Nisbet and others. We want to commend all of them and wish them well. So $10 million are available for farmers and fishers, and the Director of Agriculture and the relevant parties, the extension officers, should be able to give you more specifics. I would want to invite Mark Williams, who is responsible for the fisheries sector, to make the information available to our fishers in terms of the specific sums that they can, as it were, access out of this 10 million pledged by the government in our stimulus package. So there is something in it for everyone.
I will yield to my colleague Lindsay for your final remarks.
Thank you, Chair. It was indeed a pleasure being on this program this evening, and I want to again publicly thank one of my constituents, Austin Coker, a hard-working and industrious individual, along with his son, a resident in Old Road, for that contribution they would have made. We as a government, we continue to work hard. In fact, we continue to work very hard. Even up to today, we had a cabinet meeting that extended several hours. And we work hard in the best interests of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have to win this war against this virus, this COVID-19. But to win the war, we must listen to and we must heed what the medical experts and the medical team is asking us to do. And every single decision that we have made and we have taken has been clothed with the advice of the medical experts. We are speaking about washing the hands and the sanitizing. We are speaking about wearing masks. We are speaking about building up the immune system, getting your enough rest, and social distancing. But while we prepare to win the war, we must prepare to manage our economy coming out of this. And we were able to give a stimulus package of $120 million because of our fiscal prudence. And had it not been for our fiscal prudence, we would not have been able to provide this $120 million. And a lot of governments around the region are not able to give the kind of support that we have given because they were not as fiscally prudent as we would have been. And so we are here for you, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. We are here for you in the short term, we are here for you in the medium term, but more importantly, we are here for you in the long haul. And we will get through this virus together, both individually and collectively. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. And as we wrap this edition of our virtual forum series under the caption Leadership Matters, I just want to make the point in closing that we as a cabinet have been preparing the country for facing this virus since early or late January. Matter of fact, we sensitized pretty early all our frontline workers at the ports of entry. We strengthened the surveillance at such ports, amongst other things. We also ensured that the health desk at the Robert Llewellyn Bradford International Airport was covered by sessional nurses and environmental health officers, so too at the seaports. So we have been preparing for this onslaught, so to speak, and for this war on this virus. I know that in a few days, the partial curfew, the shutdown will be lifted, and we'll have the partial curfew. I want to reassure our fellow citizens here in St. Kitts and Nevis that the vessels, the cargo vessels, are still coming. As a matter of fact, for this week, we expect to have we had 4 vessels for the week already, and we expect 2 more vessels this week. We had the usual tropical vessels tropical vessel that was here today. We had the King Ocean and 2 Crowley vessels, the container vessels on Monday. So there's no need to worry about food. In terms of our electricity, we do have enough supplies in terms of our fuel. So there's no need to panic, no need to fear. And as well, so we are looking and ensuring that this country would survive even in spite of all that's going on. We, as I said earlier in our introduction, we know, and our mantra is up to now, that we believe strongly that everything rises and falls on leadership. And our cabinet is led, and you've heard all the sentiments, and we can align ourselves with those sentiments because we are up close in terms of looking at our leader in the person of the distinguished Prime Minister, the Honorable Timothy Harris. In closing then, I just want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight. And as always, we look forward to connect with you next week, Tuesday, God's willing. Before we do that, or before we wrap, I want to give the Prime Minister his final wrap. I thought he had, forgive the Prime Minister, your final wrap for tonight.
Thank you very much, and I'm going to be very brief. I want to say to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis that this is our most challenging time in the history of our nation. And it is, in fact, the most challenging period in the world. This is the challenge of the century, and this is the fight for all of humanity. It is a fight that no country on its own can win, but each country must, within its jurisdiction, win the war against COVID. So we are all interrelated, and so we need to ensure we defeat it here, we defeat it in Europe, we defeat it in the USA, we defeat it in Africa, we defeat it all over, because that will help us, as it were, as a global community to move on with our lives, and we are interdependent. The interdependence was seen in the fact that right here in St. Kitts and Nevis, a small factory called API Harrisova is producing parts that are necessary for the production of ventilators. Who would have thought that right here our sons and daughters go out every day in a quiet way, or at least Monday to Friday, producing parts and products critical now to the salvation of the world. St. Kitts and Nevis, therefore, have a leadership role to play in this recovery efforts. And for all of last week up till tonight, I was engaged with officials in the White House to see how St. Kitts and Nevis could assist not just America, but the international community to facilitate in certain works being done at Harrisova right here in St. Kitts. It's a war in which all countries must put their very best foot. I have every confidence that we can lead, and that St. Kitts and Nevis can become the first of the countries who would have successfully delivered a blow to the COVID-19 and ensure that we can continue the strong part of growth and development in which this administration had embarked. Because we have managed the country well, we have a legacy of some of the best developments ever to have taken place in a lifetime in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have delivered a second cruise pair when 20 years before us, none was there. We have started the resurfacing of an island-made road that has made such a significant difference in the quality of life of our people and the appeal of St. Kitts and Nevis to visitors and locals alike. We have started landmark investment that will transform the western part of the country to the construction of the road in Old Road that was was raised tonight in the conversation. We're investing over $6 million in, as it were, addressing the shortcomings, the problems left behind by the former administration with respect to the old world fisheries. And we could go on and on, identifying what has been done over the last 5 years. And when you compare that list of achievements, when you compare the fact that we paid off the IMF debt and we are still standing, when you compare the fact that we paid off over $200 million to be able to redeem lands taken out of the reach of the ordinary people, so that today we can identify easily 135 acres of land to go to farmers, to go to young people interested in agriculture, then you see what a significant transformation that my team Unity Administration has brought to the people of St. Kitts. We are asking, as we look to the future with confidence, that you work with us. We trust you, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and we have availed ourselves as a cabinet to come before you as a team tonight, represented by myself, the Honorable Ian Patches Liburd, the distinguished representative for the people of East Barstow, and the Honorable Lindsay Grant, our Minister of Tourism and distinguished member for St. Christopher IV, to say to you that we have faith in you. We have faith that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis will rise to this occasion. I have faith that you will move beyond the inconvenience to bring your energy to bear in helping us defeat the COVID-19. I have faith that just as how Lynette Bonaparte could now have a business providing masks coming out of this period of difficulty, seizing an opportunity to create something new. And Sun Island now can produce near 50,000 masks in 1 month, seizing the new opportunities. That just how we have other persons who have been able now to engage in the production of hand sanitizers, that other people would see opportunities, begin to make assessment of them, so that when the dust is clear, because the COVID, in the words of Socrates, this too will pass, and when it will pass, it would have passed, we are ready to go to a higher plateau. Thank you to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank you in particular to my constituents for lending me to the rest of the country for such a time like this. Challenging as it is, I know working together, we can overcome. We can overcome with our industry, our ingenuity, our resourcefulness. I have every confidence in my God and in the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. So thank you for the opportunity to serve and to continue to serve you well. May God bless you, the wonderful people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
And thank you very much, Prime Minister. And as I was intimating earlier, we must thank Almighty God as well for guiding our conversation tonight. We thank our many callers. We thank all those who listened via the stations who brought this transmission simultaneously, ZIZ TV and radio, Freedom FM, Sugar City FM, St. Kitts, One Radio, and WeedFM.com. Those in the Kittitian and Division diaspora as well, those on Facebook and other social media, we thank you. And until we connect with you next week, Tuesday, we say have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful night.
And the time of the shoot is approximately 26 minutes moving away from the 10 o'clock hour. And you just heard the conclusion of Leadership Matters. Do stay tuned.